He's one of the top 50 most influential leaders in UK IT and an award winner for data leadership in infrastructure and protection in the 2016 Data 50 Awards. Currently, he's Vice President and Chief Technology Officer EMEA at VMware and founding committee member of the Data Center Specialist Group at the British Computer Society. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Joe Baguley.
The one thing they didn't mention in my bio is I'm the current reigning British firework champion, and in my spare time, I do these things. In fact, I've done them for some very famous people at Wembley Stadium before and nearly set fire to someone. It's a story from my autobiography. So I do know that they're quite scary and very hot. So I'm going to take it to a slightly different level here. So far today, a lot of the talks have been very much upfront about the future and scanning people's minds and all these wonderful things that are going to happen, but those things are not going to happen without computers, without an ever-increasing number of computers, without what we call the cloud, and without an operating system that's going to actually drive that. So what I want to talk about with you today is a lot more than that. If my clickers can work, I come with my own test card. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what's going on in our industry and what's going on down the bottom, which is changing what's going on at the top. And it's fundamental to understand what's going on at the bottom, to understand what changes you can do at the top. So, everyone talks about digital transformation, digital business, digital strategy. It's the conversation that I have with CIOs every single day. And my usual comment to them is you're about 3 to 4 years too late if now is when you've just started to think about digital strategy. And most people come to me to talk about their digital strategy as to what they're going to do with their data centers. How am I going to change my infrastructure? And my simple answer to them is no digital transformation ever started in a data center. No digital transformation ever started with a computer scientist. Digital transformation starts with the user. And if there's one thing that enterprises need to learn and understand in the modern age, is that they have never, ever thought about their users. They've only ever thought about the business. And so we end up with IT as we have it today in the enterprise, where I sit in front of CIOs who tell me they want to be more like Google, they want to be more like Amazon, yet they behave nothing like Google or Amazon. So let me tell you how you start with the user and give you some examples. The first example actually almost has been said today about user interfaces. The example that was brought up earlier about Buzz Aldrin's expense claim. Now, I want you to think about what's wrong with enterprise IT as I give you this example. Everyone's always talked about aligning to the business, okay? We always have to align IT to the business. Hands up if you've worked in IT and they've told you that aligning IT with the business is the future, right? Wrong. Because most people have aligned with the business and that's where they stopped and that's where they went wrong. So think to yourselves, the expenses system that those of you who work for companies are going to have to go back and fill in for today's trip to Sofia and tomorrow's trip to Sofia. As you fill that expenses system in, I want you to ask yourselves one simple question. Was this thing designed to make my life easier? No, is the simple answer, because actually what you're doing is you're making the life easier for someone in accounts. The HR system you fill in to book your holidays, is that there to make your life easier? No, it's there to help someone in HR's job get easier. The customer relationship management system, the Salesforce.com, which everyone, or whatever system it is you want to use, not particularly them. Think about that. Is that designed for salespeople, or is it designed to sales management reporting? And so here's the fundamental difference. Up until now, the buyer of those systems has been the sales manager looking for reports. It has been the accounts department looking for better cost control. But what's changing now is that the customers are different. The reason why the applications you get from enterprise companies are very different to the applications you're used to on your iPhone is because those enterprise companies don't have to sell to you. they have to sell to your boss or your manager. And so the change, if you're looking for digital transformation in our world, is to understand and focus differently on what you actually sell to. So we talk more about the customer's customer. What do our customers have as their customers? And as you go forward thinking about who your customers are, think about why those customers are buying your product. Those customers are buying your product to help them serve their customers better, whoever that is. So if you can work with your customers on how you solve their customer's problem, they're going to want to buy your stuff as much as possible. And so really that's a focus and a drive for VMware right now, is how do we help our customers sell better to their customers, whether that's IT departments to users or our customers to their customers. So the digital transformation that we see people most driving towards is these top three things. Business agility and innovation. We all want to be agile. We all want to have exceptional mobile experiences, and we want to make sure that our brand and customer trust is maintained. We don't have any security breaches. When you get down the level I'm talking about, to IT departments, the infrastructure people that make this run, what you're then looking at is four major themes in our industry. The first one is modernizing data centers. Then it's integrating public clouds. Then it's empowering digital workspaces. And lastly, transforming security. Pretty much every project you see in every IT organization, every company right now to do with IT, falls into one of these four buckets. But I'm going to tell you a secret about the cycle of IT, because most people don't realize this exists. Every single one of those buckets is going around a cycle. And it's this cycle. Oh, I jumped onto it. This is a simplified OODA loop, those of you who've ever studied OODA loops. This is every IT project that has ever happened in the world goes round this loop. Whether you are starting up Uber or deploying the latest system from SAP, this is the loop you go round. You analyze a problem in the bottom right there. You then decide the way to solve that is an app, either by going and buying an app from a software company or building your own. Over time, that app generates data. You then hopefully analyze the data. You then update the application. That generates more data. You go round and round and round, and your app gets better and better and better. Now, how often do you think most enterprises go round this loop for their major systems? The answer from my basic and simple research is about every 3 to 5 years, most organizations go round this loop. It's because there's a new version of SAP, there's a new version of Microsoft software or whatever it is. That's how often they go round. How long does it take to go round this loop? Typically about 12 to 18 months. Why? Because IT's difficult. And more importantly, we've invented things like ITIL and Six Sigma to make it as slow and painful as possible every time we try and go round this loop. And so then these companies who are stuck in this loop without realizing it come to us at VMware and they go, we want to be more like Google and Facebook and Amazon. And you ask them, do you know how often Amazon goes around this loop? Multiple times a day. Multiple times a minute. Most leading edge companies push different code to their production systems multiple times a day, minute, or hour. Not once every 3 to 5 years. The reason you're behind is because you're not going around this loop quick enough. You get around this loop faster, you win. Whether that's with your startup or your massive enterprise organization. So what stops people getting around this loop? 3 things. People, process, and technology. Now, people and process I can't fix. There's something I've invented called Baguley's Law, is that any conversation about technology, if left to go on long enough, will end up being an argument about people and process. I can't fix the people and process bit. That's not me, I'm a technologist, but I can do the technology piece. And what's slowing people down going around this loop is when they get to that bit where they go, oh, I've done the analysis, I need to update my app. They then turn around and all the technology guys in IT give them 137 reasons why they can't do that. And they go, but I just need an API to give to my developers. And the technology people go, what's an API? I only do servers and networks and storage. So let me tell you what the revolution is that's happening in data centers across the world to enable all of this great stuff you've heard of today and what is needed as the next step in terms of artificial intelligence and management. To tell you the story of what goes on in clouds, I need to take you back a little time. Back to 1987, where we had a problem that we couldn't build one hard drive that was big enough or fast enough to meet the then new and exciting relational databases that were changing the world, like Sybase. And so what we did was we made a thing called a RAID controller. Now, RAID sits at the top there, and RAID stands for, we're really good at acronyms in IT, okay? It stands for Redundant Array of Inexpensive Disks. Seriously, my favorite IT acronym, if you want to go and look it up, is TWAIN. TWAIN is the old technology we used to use for scanner drivers, right? And it stands for Technology Without an Interesting Name. It really honestly does. Go look it up. So RAID stands for this redundant array of inexpensive disks. What that means is, instead of giving each of my applications its own disk, I attach my applications to this RAID controller, and the RAID controller decides where best to store my data. And because my RAID controller can do special things like spreading my application data across multiple disks, I can lose a disk, and stuff still goes on. This sounds like magic, but we've done it since the 80s. Okay? So to understand what's going on right now in infrastructure, you just need to make a very small mental leap from this very simple picture to what's happening now. And so I need you to swap the pictures of disks for pictures of data centers. I know I do my own slides. That's not really a data center, I promise you, but it was the best picture of a building I could find, right? And where it says RAID controller, instead of having something that just spreads data, I need something that spreads the entire application and all the bits it needs, including networking and compute as well as storage, across multiple machines and maybe multiple physical locations. And that's what became called the Software-Defined Data Center, or SDDC. We invented it at VMware. We called it internally the operating system for data centers, but unfortunately someone in marketing found out, and we were joking at a bar one night, and software-defined data center came out as a term. Starts about 2011, Google it. And what that does is it means now I put an application on top of this operating system for data centers, and that can freely move between data centers. I can now move a running server, a running application, from one side of the Atlantic to the other, between data centers, whilst it's still going without you noticing, using technology called vMotion. So now what we've done is we've separated away the application from any particular piece of physical hardware, any particular disk, any particular computer, any particular network infrastructure, because we've virtualized everything. But of course, time doesn't stand still. Suddenly people invent the need for a data center to disappear, and that's something we're working on now. We need it to be such that a data center failing is about as exciting as a disk failing is today in a RAID array, which is not very exciting if you work in infrastructure. But then, again, Docker comes along, and we now have a new type of application that wants to sit on top of this, not in a whole VM, but in a container of itself. That's fine. The operating system just looks at that as another application it has to run, and we make sure that it's the best place to run and spread it across these data centers. But of course, now what's happening is people don't want to run in their own data centers and span their own data centers. What's actually happening is people want to run across multiple clouds. And that's where what was announced last year, which is VMware Cross-Cloud, comes in. This is where you get an operating system for clouds that allows you, like you do with your computer, in your laptop, to run an application. And you don't care what goes on underneath in the application on the laptop. You don't care which disk bit it ends up in or whether it's in RAM or not right now. It just runs. This allows you to put an application on top of an infrastructure that spans multiple clouds, and it just runs. Now, the challenge here with this is that to do that, you have to get all the clouds to run your operating system, which is not easy. But that's what we're working on. Because when 85% of enterprise workloads in data centers run on your stuff, typically the cloud providers are interested in that too. So the way this manifests itself is someone starts with an on-premises version of this software-defined data center, and then we've worked with a whole bunch of partners, a lot of which are here today, where we have over 4,000 vCloud Air Network, it's called, partners worldwide that run our operating system. In addition to that, last year we added IBM, who now run their Bluemix public cloud on our operating system. And at the end of last year, we announced with Amazon that Amazon and us are now going to run this operating system, this software-defined data center, or cloud foundation as we call it, in Amazon too. So what does that mean? That means that you can, from your console with your application, move it in and out of IBM, move it in and out of Amazon, move it in and out of 4,000 network providers around the world who provide clouds in addition to those two, literally whilst it's running if you want to. So no, I need to convert it to run in this cloud, I need to convert it back out again. You can literally have a layer that sits on top and decides where is the best place right now to run that thing, whether that's based on cost, whether that's based on legislation, whatever. At the same time, we also now are introducing a new layer that sits on top of all of this and goes across existing public clouds that allows you to have management and automation, cost comparison, and all the other things you'd expect. And that will be launching later this year. So the future for our industry is actually not just how do I build a better operating system for my computer, it's how do I build an operating system for the entire cloud. And that's exactly what we're working on. So what the hell are you on about with AI, Joe? Why were you talking about artificial intelligence? You haven't said anything about artificial intelligence in this whole talk. Well, I'm going to leave you with a very simple problem to think about in this context. One of our largest customers operates over 350,000 virtual machines in one single cloud. 350,000 virtual machines. Now, if each one of those virtual machines is creating 10 events a second, just telling you how it's going, how it's doing, that's 3.5 million events a second I have to process for that cloud. No human being, given the best tools on earth, can understand the response of 3.5 million events a second from 350,000 machines to give you an idea of the health of that application or that infrastructure. The only way we can make machines grow this big to support the kind of amazing stuff you've been hearing about so far today about sequencing DNA and getting inside your brain is to make the computer think about itself. And so one of the lead areas of research that I'm taking on both with VMware and with industry, and with academia right now, is exactly that. How do I let's not think about AI as you lot talk about AI and think about AI, but AI from our perspective is how do I get the computer to manage itself? Because ultimately everything is getting so big, if I want to run this operating system with multiple clouds, the computer has to manage itself. Because then you can truly run all your applications across one cloud, any application, on any cloud, and deliver it, which is what we want to do, to any device. Because IT is not about things. It's not about phones. It's not about cars. It's not about all these different things you'll hear about. IT is about users getting connected to their applications and their data wherever they are, whether that is on a phone or in a car or whatever it is. They don't care what the device is. They care that they have access to the information that they need right now in front of them, however they can. So what next? What do you do next when you think about how we deal with this? Well, don't forget, digital transformation starts with the user. It does not start in data centers. It starts with not giving people expensive systems that are designed for the accounts department. It starts with giving them applications that are designed to make their life easier. Facebook is successful in gathering a phenomenal amount of data about every single one of you because it gives you an application that gives you so much value, you don't even think about how much privacy you're giving up. Imagine if you could roll out an application, maybe someone in this room will be that person who does this, that is the ultimate salesperson's tool, that is so cool that every salesperson in the world wants to use this tool, and goes around showing all their friends how cool and amazing this sales tool is, just like you did with Facebook or Snapchat to your friends. That will probably be one of the most successful applications you will ever sell to corporates in the history of mankind. No one's done it yet. Think about your customer's customer, because that's going to be key in this transformation, in understanding what goes on. But more importantly, no matter what you do, this is the fundamental of our industry, this cycle. Go back, today look around and think, how can you help your organization, your customers, whoever it is dealing with technology, to get round this cycle quicker? And what is in the way? And what can you do to get stuff out the way? We're making sure that technology is not in the way. We're making sure that the technology is so intelligent that it is invisible, intelligent infrastructure. It's just there, it works, it thinks about itself. You get on with getting around this quicker. I'll do the technology piece, you do the people and process piece. Thank you.